Hello,
Hello.
and welcome to Planet Marzipan, the Fish and Marillion podcast. I'm Mezza, and here's my mate.
Craig Houston.
And welcome to Planet Marzipan. I'm Mezza, and I'm here with my good friend
Craig. Faye's gone.
Faye's left. I'm here with Craig, and we have guests again. We welcome back Tim Sidwell.
Hello.
Mike Barton.
Good evening.
James Levey.
Hello.
And Nathan Page.
Hello.
Okay, this is Somewhere Else Part 2, aka Somewhere in London. So this is we're going to chat about the Somewhere in London DVD that was filmed by Mr. Tim Sidwell and his team on the 15th and 16th of June 2007 at the Forum in Kentish Town, London. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Somewhere Else tours and our memories of that. But Tim, have you got any particular memories of recording this DVD?
Yeah, I mean, what an experience. Over 2 nights at the Kentish Town Forum, and it was a dream for me because some of the best Marillion gigs I've been to were at the Town and Country Club. You know, especially the Seasons End Christmas gig. That was off the scale, one of the best gigs I've ever been to. So sort of take cameras there and film the band there over 2 nights was just something else. It was really, really special. And, you know, the guys that I took with me to film it were all really good friends, and we had a really good time outside of actually filming it. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of memories that I have. One is that usually when we rig a multi-camera shoot together, the gallery will be backstage somewhere relatively quiet, so that, you know, I can concentrate on communicating with the camera crew. The Forum is awful for this, and we've had it recently because we filmed Skid Row there about 18 months ago.
Oh wow! Okay.
But for the Somewhere in London shows, I was actually in the room with the full blast of the PA in my ears, as well as trying to talk to the camera operators. So that was an experience. So when we did Skid Row not so long ago, we actually had a truck out the back in the car park, but I just sat in, and it was a much better experience. So, and the other experience was being chased out on the second night by a school disco, and sort of rapidly, you know, and obviously the crew had it as well to de-rig the stage and get all the backline and everything out. But just the memory of the surreal memory of lumping all the kit back into the van and then trying to drive down that really tiny side street next to the venue with all these school kids inverted commas, off their faces, drunk, trying to get into the venue that we just filmed a Marillion gig in, to prance around in, you know, short skirts and short trousers.
So do you think there was a lot of Marillion fans coming out and taking their trousers off and putting their little mini skirts on?
We were tempted.
Some hairy-ass guy with a beard and trying to look like Britney Spears in a Hit Me Baby One More Time video.
I mean, if it weren't for a rendezvous at the World's End where everybody was going to go afterwards, we would have probably stayed.
Well, they were a great couple of nights, were they? But
yeah.
As a question, Tim, when you got to film this show, if I remember right, the stage setup and I don't know if it's the lighting, but the background curtain and stuff was pretty much the same for PZ as it was for the main tour, because there wasn't video screens and things like there had been on the Marbles tour. It was more old school, just lighting and curtain backdrop.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I mean, don't see that often these days, do you?
No.
I think the last time we filmed the band without any kind of video backdrop could have been, was it the light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah.
Hammersmith. They didn't have video screens,
and it was all the better for it.
Yeah, and I remember doing Wolverhampton, the 2013, when we did the world record. That didn't have screens there either. And I thought that comes across really, really well as well.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the screens add a hell of a lot to the show in terms of production value, but you don't really want to rely on them all the time. And to not have them there, I think is quite is a refreshing change to.
Yeah, it's lovely.
So you can concentrate on the band.
Yeah, the focus is on the band, isn't it? Yeah.
Some sets work great with that, and some sets work great with the big video screens and that. I think it just depends on the material, I think.
Well, yeah, definitely. I think it works better when there's been some actual cohesive thought put behind what's going on behind the band, because we've created a lot of films over the years that are great in their own right, but when you've got a set where one's coming from one part of the band's history and one from another, it still looks great, but it's a little bit disjointed. But when you get a show like the Fear Show at the Royal Albert Hall, or An Hour Before It's Dark in Port Zealand, where, I mean, both of those were Simon's stuff. You've got one creative mind thinking about the whole show, then that comes across as a more powerful thing, I think, visually, and as, you know, gelling the show together.
I think the other difference for me is that on kind of the rockier sets where it's quite upbeat, it's more of a, let's say, standing gig, the video screens aren't necessarily needed, whereas at a gig like the Albert Hall or potentially like An Hour Before It's Dark, most of those were kind of, you know, theatre sit-down shows. The video adds another element, and as we talked about earlier, Marillion's quite a visual band, and it lends another level to that. So I just went like the Somewhere Else John, looking over kind of the generic kind of set list. It's quite upbeat, it's quite rocky. You don't necessarily need the film backdrop to keep you entertained.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then again, the films have always been sort of perceived as, well, from the band's point of view anyways, it's something else to give to the audience, but it's something that ties in with the whole art of it all as well. You know, there's messages to be seen in the videos as well as to be heard through the music and the lyrics. Some are more successful than others, but I think for me, definitely
I think Out of This World was the one that really, for me, brought it alive.
Mm.
The whole
and King, the end of King, with all the updates and all the pictures of past, the people, the celebrities that passed and stuff, was quite hard hitting.
Yeah.
Both of them copyright Mark Kennedy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
the only trouble with King was, though, everyone screams for their favourite.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we changed it.
Yeah.
Because I changed it for the 2019, I think.
Yeah.
Exactly that, Mike. You know, it's a fantastic song, but
you lose it, though, don't you?
You lose it completely. Yeah. So to sort of try and keep the essence of that in that film,
had to take a step back.
Take a step back and refocus the song on the band's performance.
Yes,
it's critical.
Because the minute Lemmy comes on and everyone screams, you've lost the song.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Somewhere Else tour 2007, as Nath says, the setlist primarily was pretty up tempo.
Yeah.
Just going through the track list of Somewhere in London in particular, on disc 1, Splintering Heart is a great opener, classic Marillion opener, with or without the screens. It's not really required for that, is it? As we talked about, Into the Other Half as the first song from the new album. H with his, as Tim said on the previous pod, with his handful of the confetti, which he throws up at the beginning.
Somebody as a practical joke should have put some beans in his pocket or something instead. That would have been funny.
Smarties or something.
And then on to the first song from Marbles, You're Gone.
Great version. Absolutely superb version of You're Gone, this one.
Yeah. Keeping the tempo up, though, isn't it, really?
Yeah, definitely.
And a second song from the new album then, No Such Thing. So we've got No Such Thing into Faith, which Faith features Steve Hogarth on bass.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was it switched on, though?
Yeah, yes, they actually.
Yeah, you can hear it. You can hear it. Yeah. Features Steve Hogarth on bass and Pete on acoustic guitar. And To Thank You, Whoever You Are, and Fantastic Place. And then
I think they work really well together.
Yeah.
They're two songs that work really well together.
That's a nice little section, isn't it? After the upbeat first three songs, No Such Thing, Faith, Thank You, and Fantastic Place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of takes it down a level, but keeps the intensity going.
And then back up, the tempo goes back up with The Wound.
I tell you what, the first track that I edited from that 2 nights was The Wound. Because I remember wanting to see, because we somehow managed to shoehorn the jib into the London Forum.
Did you?
Yeah, both nights.
We were down the front, John, so we didn't see anything.
But The Wound, I really wanted to see what the jib shots looked like. So that was the first one that I edited from those 2 nights. But I remember Jens's lighting as well. It was all, I mean, I haven't watched it for years, but is it white and red and sort of? Yeah. It looked great.
Yeah.
With the jib shots, though, it looks as though you're on the top balcony, zooming right in.
Yeah.
And then swooping away again. It's really good shots.
That's the magic of Dave Emery. He's still doing stuff for me now, Dave is, and he's a fantastic jib operator.
The one thing I found watching the video, or the DVD, was... Yeah, I know, don't. Betamax. The stage looked really small, and it's actually quite a big stage, but it looked quite tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does,
that's lenses for you, Mike.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But there's a lot... As we were talking about on the previous pod, though, do you not get the vibe that the band are quite loose and relaxed and
they
sound tight, but they're having a good time?
H and Pete looks so relaxed, and Ian's smiling away, and lots of camera shots of Ian, more probably than any other show.
Yeah. I think it's a lot to, just like we've said, with it being a paid back production. They weren't relying on video screens, or they weren't relying on any other things apart from, them on the stage with a good lighting setup, and just going old school rock band without any complications.
Well, there's a couple of times on the second disc when they're going to play Most Toys, and Rothers has got an acoustic on, and then the crowd starts shouting for Sugar Mice.
Yeah, and H looks at him and says, Sugar Mice, and he goes...
Yeah. But that to me, typifies that tour and how I felt they came across. Yeah. They're so relaxed with each other. And you would think on a night that they're filming, or 2 nights that they're filming, there would be extra nerves, but it just doesn't come across in this at all.
Yeah, do you know, the one thing they never did was the song we kept shouting for, John?
Which was?
Built-in Bastard Radar.
Well, no, we got that years later, Mike, didn't we?
Does it also help it was filmed on Ian's birthday? So from memory, I think there's a clip where the crowd singing Happy Birthday. And
then after the Wound, we got a version of Voice from the Past, which I think we talked about, where H really, really goes for it. And then the title track, Somewhere Else.
Which is a amazing live.
Yeah.
And that version of it's absolute corking.
Are they a crowd pleaser of Man of a Thousand Faces? Whatever happened to that? Don't get that very often now, do we?
There was quite a period of time where it was pulled out quite regularly.
Yeah.
And I think it needs to come back.
Yeah. Between You and Me?
With all the balloons?
Yeah.
And with us pogoing, I think.
Yeah, very much.
Couldn't do that now. I'd have a bad back for weeks. Yeah,
use one of the balls as a space hopper now.
I might need to. To be carried out on it, yeah. Into the aforementioned King without the video. And then the release.
Yeah. It needs to be more regular than release.
Yeah, proved popular at the convention, so it came into the set for the tour.
Yeah, when we did this strange convention, what we talked about that being the start of a run playing the release, didn't we?
Yeah, there is another podcast that goes out regularly, which Anne Short is trying to get the release released.
Okay.
Release the release.
Release the release.
Get Jonathan Ross to promote it. And then finally on disc 1, Neverland.
A perennial favourite.
Still in its youth, really, wasn't it, at that point?
I think that disc 1 is a fantastic set list. I'd be happy with that today.
Yeah.
Really would.
And although Tim's on the pod, it's really well recorded. The image qualities was great at the time and not so sharp now, but it's a great gig. It looks fantastic. Yeah. You've captured the energy really, really well.
Well, as you said, it's an energetic set list, isn't it? I mean, going out from the start with Splintering Heart and the other half and You're Gone, it sort of sets the stage, doesn't it? And Man of a Thousand Faces, Between You and Me and King, and the release.
Yeah.
I mean,
think
upbeat.
I think it also starts to set a precedent for Marillion in that almost at this point they realised that they could document practically every tour, and now it's almost strange to not think of kind of Tim's live videos going alongside a new album, a new tour. It's almost started that precedent of Tim working so closely with them and becoming such a part of their overall image.
Yeah.
It's crazy to look back over ever since then. You're absolutely right, Nathan. And looking at what we've got on the space in terms of the amount of concert films that we've produced over the years. Plus, also what I'm particularly proud of at the moment is all the documentaries that we've suddenly built up. You know, all the way from script right through to. I mean, we've got making ofs of An Hour Before It's Dark, of Fear, of Sounds That Can't Be Made. So we sort of got those three, and we're sort of creeping up towards those three. I mean, This Strange Engine's going to come out this year, and then, you know, then there's only three or four albums in between that hasn't really got anything. Because we did an EPK for Happiness Is the Road as well. That I'm not sure whether that's on the space, but
the documentaries are the first thing I go to, Tim.
Yeah, right. Same here.
Absolutely, and they've all got a Pete moment in them. It's that Pete moment that Pete gets there, and he gets so emotional.
Yeah,
the tears start, and I've gone.
Yeah, well, the first one, there's one at the end of Unconventional, which was the first Pete Travis moment. Bless him. But yeah, I mean, I've got to say, I'm so lucky to be able to work with this band because of the faith and the dedication they've put towards their visual output. And I think it's well, I can't think of many bands that sort of do this year in, year out and produce as much video content as Marillion do, you know, and it goes as far as like the stuff that we do for YouTube. And I mean, we shot some stuff at the Roundhouse at the back end of last year, which is going to be formulated into a little documentary at some point this year, which will go onto the space. And that's more of a behind the scenesy type thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, the access and I think this is probably, it's got a lot to do with Lucy's kind of, philosophy behind promoting the band, you know, is to open up the access to the fans and to get the fans involved and make them feel as much a part of what's going on in the Marillion world as what's going on at Bracket and with the band themselves.
I think they do that very well, don't they?
They do, yeah.
You know, I think the other thing that shows, and it came up on Marillion Monthly last month, is the fact that you've kind of grown with them, so you've almost got to know what their wants and likes are, and you've almost adapted to make them more relaxed. And yes, they're incredibly relaxed here, but in the more recent ones, we're getting back to them looking quite relaxed, quite comfortable, and it's almost like that you know. The cameras aren't there; they are just playing the show. Whereas there are other releases where I think that you can almost sense the nerves, the cameras.
Yeah.
Well, they trust you and your team, Tim. They know what you do and they trust you. So it's one less thing to worry about. They can concentrate on what they're doing.
That's right. And we don't try with any band that we film. We don't want to get in the way. We like to operate in the shadows. We don't want to be obtrusive or in people's faces or anything, because essentially at live shows we're there to document it. You know, we're not there to make a show or to be part of the show. We're there to document what's going on the stage, on what's going on in the audience, you know, what the venue's like, and just to create a nice, you know, dynamic keepsake of what is usually a fantastic evening.
Yeah.
And you know, the most nervous the band have ever been was the Royal Albert Hall, without a doubt. And that was because of the occasion, but you know,
you could see that relax. Once it got to the second half, it was so much more relaxed.
Once they got the space out of the way,
space.
Yeah. But no, I think as they're growing, as they're getting towards this end of the career, I think they're getting a bit more nervous with the camera. I mean, I think as any of us looking in the mirror as the years go by, you're not the lithe, athletic, handsome young dude that you once were, and you know, I think there's a little bit of that creeping into.
Well, all you need to do is just get Barnes, just give him the footage.
Yeah, a bit of VFX. He can wheel his VFX suitcase in and.
A bit of de-aging software, you know, they've done it in Star Wars and everything as well, haven't they? So.
But I think certainly with Somewhere in London, like we were saying, I think before we started talking for the pod, the technology I'm playing around with at the moment, it can certainly enhance what was a standard definition picture.
Yeah.
And, upscale it effectively to at least, HD standard and, sharpen it up a little bit, and we can see what we can come out with at the other end, which would be I'd like to do that exercise throughout the season as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Which was the last convention that we shot in standard def.
Yeah.
Because that's worth revisiting in that sense as well.
It's a great set, yeah. Well, you filmed both nights for Somewhere in London, and you hid all the tracks with Our Ugly Mugs on the front row on disc 2 to save it.
There's a big exception on Neverland. I think I mentioned in the pod
okay.
before. Just at the end of Neverland, when the titles go up, there's a long lingering shot of my missus Sarah on there. I think she was shot because she was possibly the youngest person in the audience, the youngest female in the audience at the time, because she was only 22 or 23 at the time.
Well, yeah, this 2's got here's some we played earlier. So it's got Ocean Cloud, Afraid of Sunlight, Beautiful, Most Toys, Estonia, Sugar Mice, and Easter, of course.
I mean, Virgin 476 at this point.
Yeah.
So those songs would have been dotted about.
They were dotted throughout the selection.
Yeah. So I think there's everything from the 2 nights in there.
Yeah.
You nearly got Last Century for Man. If I remember correctly, that was when Mark Kelly's keyboard rig went down just before that song, and they skipped it.
Yes, you're right,
James. What is this you talk about? Mark Kelly's keyboard going down?
That doesn't happen.
Well,
never.
I think the joke at the time, wasn't it, that all Marillion live songs had the Windows opening music.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, and there was no "See It Like a Baby" played on either of these nights, which was a bit odd.
No, that was in the first leg, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought they would have stuck it in just as a piece to have most of the songs from the.
But it is on disc 2 of the DVD from the Racket Club rehearsal that Tim mentioned in our previous pod, which was the band rehearsing for the Bob Harris Rio 2 session, and that's got Last Century for Man, Estonia, Neverland, Faith, and See It Like a Baby, and also it's got 5 4.1 surround mixes on it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, listen to the previous episode.
Were any of you at that Racket Club rehearsal?
No,
not that one.
Because I think it might have been like an audience of competition winners or something. Because I remember,
was it not the Web UK? And because the one that Mike went to was competition winners.
I went to a competition winners one, which was before was it Fear?
Oh no, was it Happiness Is the Road?
I went to a later one.
There was one I remember. Colin Price was still working for the band.
God, that's going back.
And I remember being in a car with Stephanie and one of the camera guys, and we drove out to Bicester North or a nearby railway station to pick somebody up who was a competition winner, and then short of blindfolding them so they didn't see where they were going, sort of Colin or Stephanie drive them around the back lanes of the countryside before we got to Racket. I don't know, was that this one or was that another one? I can't remember.
Just really,
one guy was that.
But by Happiness, I think Pete Holder took over as guitar tech, so I think it's got a predate 2008.
It could have been. I think it must have been this one.
Yeah, Colin would have been around for this one.
There's been a thing with the Strange Engine documentary, and I needed a little sequence to introduce the Racket Club because they talk a little bit about it, and I hadn't got anything, so I delved back into the archive and went through Unconventional because we filmed a load of sequences there, and there's this one exterior shot of the Racket Club with like bins and stuff and cardboard boxes outside, which made it into the Unconventional film. But when I put it into this documentary, all of the buggers said, "Can you take that out? It makes us look a bit kind of skanky."
Again, all they needed to do was get Barnes in to just CGI some kind of palace or something.
Yeah,
there'd been a rhino flying in from sort of left screen.
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Should we talk a little bit about the Somewhere Else tour?
Yeah.
We touched upon it. So there were
one of my favourite ever tours of Marillion.
2007 is the most Marillion gigs I ever did in 1 year.
Wow.
Nowhere near what you do. Because I think I did at least like 14 or something over the course of that year.
It was 3 legs though, this, wasn't it?
It was 3 legs, and then it was Nowhere Else legs as well. Yeah.
Yes,
so Nathan has the Marillion Air
with the dates in.
That's the one.
Hey, there you go. Fantastic. Do you want to tell us where it started, Nate?
They started in Gibraltar in April and ended in Turku in Finland on the 8th of July.
Yeah.
And you are correct. They played April into May, and then they so to be fair, it was pretty much straight through April to kind of the end of June, and then they flew off to Finland for a festival at the end of it.
That weird last leg, that third leg, was mainly UK but ended in Norway, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a bizarre. Let's throw Norway onto the end of it.
Yes.
The third leg, the UK leg, started in Leeds and went to Newcastle, Glasgow, Liverpool, Bristol, Portsmouth, Wolverhampton, Rock City, Cambridge.
Did that.
Yeah. The 2 nights of the Forum that we've obviously talked about.
Yeah.
Then went out to the Rockefeller in Oslo.
Yeah.
But the set list, I think we did touch on this earlier. For the start of the tour, the set list was Splintering Heart, You're Gone, Thank You Whoever You Are, See It Like a Baby, Fantastic Place, A Voice from the Past, Afraid of Sunlight, Estonia, Somewhere Else, Last Century for Man, Made Again, Most Toys, Neverland, Invisible Man, Faith and King. That was the first night.
The Rock City set list is phenomenal.
It was a great gig, the Rock City.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
the real standout for me on the tour.
One of the reasons I like the tour so much is because they rotated songs in and out the set on a regular basis, night for night. You got different songs, and it wasn't just 1 or 2. It was usually 3 or 4 songs you got different.
Yeah,
but also I quite vividly remember reading on the Molf, if anybody can remember that basically there was a good chance if you shouted out Sugar Mice and they heard you, they would give it a go.
Nathan, what is this Molf you
I'm
talk?
going to say we're going to ask you to just say what the Molf is.
So what's did they say the MILF? Did you say?
Yes, exactly.
Could you explain what this Molf is for more modern day listeners?
So the Molf was the Marillion online forums. Which
were you alive?
I was. At one point, I was a moderator on the Molf as it was starting to die. So effectively, kind of pre-Facebook, that was the place where you would go to have a moan about whatever it was Marillion was doing. And occasionally the band would pop in and go, help me name my child or something.
It's where Darren had about 15 different handles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he'd argue with himself.
No change there.
I forgot to bring something else out and this is not great on a podcast, but I forgot to bring this out for the album. I had a bit of memorabilia. If you can see this, this is a Somewhere Else sick bag.
Yeah, you. A sick
Did you get that in your program? Where do you get that from?
Lucy gave me this.
Wow.
Basically, what I forgot to mention, and Nathan just reminded me, when they did the promo for Somewhere Else, they sent out iPods with the album on it to pluggers and promos and journalists and stuff. And with it, they gave them this and the Marillion Air catalogue. Yeah. So if they felt a bit ick.
Cool.
Yeah. But I think you know, kind of picking up on the tour. If you look at the program, it is very self-deprecating. It's very silly. You know, and it's set out as almost like an airline brochure. And one of the things that you know you kind of don't take on board for your safety. One of the things they mention is kind of ducks, magnets, and jesters, and it's just very self-deprecating, very silly, and I think it just shows how relaxed they are.
Isn't this when the EasyJet program went out as well?
Yes.
It was about the same time.
Yeah. It's on this tour, isn't it, where they were going real cheap?
Yeah.
It was £4.50 a flight.
And the other good thing about the tour, it was in the summer. The UK leg was in the summer. It was lovely.
It was the last time it was in the bloody summer, James.
It was hot venues. I mean, I remember Cambridge being absolutely sweet because it wasn't at the Corn Exchange. It was at the
Junction.
The Junction, and me and Sarah were down on the front row of that, and
they
it was
played
really
it again
nice.
at Christmas. They played the Junction again on the Christmas tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that again.
What's also really nice, and we picked up on it on the previous pod, was the fact that as Thank You Have You Are, Most Toys double A side was released on CD, they promoted it by going into HMVs, doing small acoustic sets. So I think in Nottingham they did The Answering Machine, See It Like a Baby, Thousand Faces, and potentially something else. And then
did they do You're Gone? I can't remember. All I remember was H turning up in his pink hoodie,
and then his hair came down and it looked like he got a mustache because his hair just sat in front of his face for the entirety of it.
It's on YouTube, isn't it, somewhere?
It certainly was at one point. I've not been able to find it for at least a couple of years.
Because he took it off.
Well, there you go. Anything else you want to say about the tour, guys?
Well, they went out back out in the winter, didn't they? Did the Snowhere Else tour?
Yeah.
Nowhere else.
I'm just looking at the set. I went to the Forum show, 5th of December.
Yeah.
The set list for that. Wow. Bridge, Living with Big Lie, Runaway, Goodbye to All That, Wave, Mad, Opium Den Slide, Standing in the Swing, Fruit of the Wild Rose, Out of This World, Real Tears for Sale, Somewhere Else, Season's End. Went off, came back, did Hooks in You, Most Toys, The Other Half, Cannibal Surf Babe, This Town Rakes Progress 100 Nights, This Strange Engine. Went off, came back on, Genie, Neverland, and then finished with Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow.
Yeah.
I mean,
It was a cracking set. Yeah.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
They must have been on stage for 4 hours with all that.
Well, if you look at the other nights, all around that, the length of the set list is pretty similar, isn't it?
Yeah, we said in the previous pod, didn't we? They played Circular Eye for the first 4 shows.
You did, yeah. And we got This Town Rakes Progress, 100 Nights, Quartz. It was that's some set list again.
Yeah, and they debuted Real Tears, didn't they? That's what
Real Tears,
yeah.
Great year for touring.
Real Tears, James. We got the best version, didn't we, in Norway?
What would also be really good, I think, is if they've got them in the archives, to almost go back and almost, in order to fill this year where we've not got a lot going on, put some of those shows out as downloads, because they're so eclectic, and the songs that switched up night to night. You know, again, we talked about in the previous pod, Nottingham, where you would just shout out a song and they would play the first 10 seconds or whatever it was. I think it would show a completely different side to them live than maybe we've seen, you know, kind of on the DVDs, where they're quite polished and quite on it.
It's a great idea, Nate. I think they are a little bit busy. I mean,
I suspect so, but yeah.
huntersremixing.com as we speak, I understand, yeah.
Well, when they've got a few months off in between all this stuff, they could go out and do another Nowhere Else tour.
Yeah.
Excellent idea.
Yeah.
I think
that'd be a good convention set list, that would.
Well, I think that it's an idea for a convention to do some of them tours as a whole show. Would be really cool.
Because they still haven't done Somewhere Else as a whole show.
And they should do it as a Nowhere Else.
Yeah.
Well, from speaking to a couple of the band, I think in their head they already think they've done Somewhere Else.
Yes.
That's why they did Season's End last time.
Yeah, but Steve Hogarth thinks they've done 47 albums.
Watch it now, you're upsetting your boss.
Never. Love you.
But it's a shame with the when they did that digipack, when Somewhere in London first came out.
Digibook.
Digibook. Keep us right.
Digipack's what it's out in now. Digibook.
Yeah, because there was the Racket only double DVD.
Yeah.
And then that was discontinued for the Digibook, which was only out for like a limited time, which has is it got the 2 C? Same
thing in a different sleeve, yeah.
So it's in a different sleeve. So then that was deleted. Then you've got that other version, which is the 2 CDs and 1 DVD.
Yeah.
Version, which is the current one.
Is that a CD then?
It's two CDs and disc
two
one of the
CDs and one
DVD.
DVD. Oh, hey, John, you take your sticker off and leave it. You leave it on the front.
It's still sealed.
No, it goes on the back.
Sealed.
No,
he hasn't opened it.
Bloody weirdo.
But it's missing. It's missing Sugar Mice off the Here's Some we played earlier on the CD, and it's missing all of the Here's What we played earlier on the DVD. So it's a much reduced package compared to what was originally on offer.
But it is the first time it was released on CD.
It's an odd one because the audio I've not seen on any of the streaming services.
I think it used to be at one point, but again, it's disappeared.
Is it not on the space?
Well, the DVD's on the space.
It's the DVD on the space.
Yeah.
Tim, how do people subscribe to the space?
They just need to go to marillion.video and take advantage of a 3-day free trial. You log into it as you would Netflix or something like that, and then you can either cancel after 3 days or we takes your money.
Don't say it like that. You want them to stay on.
Well, I mean, it's £5.49 a month.
Bargain.
And I'm just calling it up now because I haven't been on here for a while. But yeah, I mean, there's tons and tons and tons of material on there. Pretty much everything that we can think to put on there is on there, apart from things that we can't at the moment because of somebody else might have the digital rights for it, like the Royal Albert Hall.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you not?
Oh, yeah, because Ear Music, when they bought the retail distribution of that, they also bought digital rights to it.
Oh, right.
So
will that expire in a period of time?
I hope so, because I would really, really love to put that show onto the space because, I mean, I've said in a previous pod, it's my favourite Marillion film. Yeah. It's my favourite day of work with Marillion ever. It was such a great day.
Phenomenal.
And the space seems somewhat incomplete without it being there.
I'm positive I've seen on one of the Amazon channels the Cardiff gig
really?
with
Friends
from the orchestra. That's on a paid thing on Amazon.
Oh, fuck me, fiddle's on fire.
Yes.
Just to go back to the soundtrack of Somewhere in London, it is available on a download from the band from Marillion.com. It's all of disc 1 and Ocean Cloud.
And potentially you can still get an HMV. I think I was in HMV at the weekend.
Yeah, the retail's still available.
Oh, the retail's still out in a digipack?
Yes.
There we go.
Not a digibook.
Not a digibook.
So you can't get the digibook.
Can't get a digibook anywhere, no. Of course, there are a couple of releases in the Front Row Club that are from this year. Front Row 38 is from Warsaw in Poland on the 22nd of May. And it's got the set list from the beginning of the tour. So it's got Splintering Heart, See It Like a Baby, You're Gone, Last Century for Man, The Wound, Waiting to Happen, Afraid of Sunlight, The Release, Cover My Eyes, Voice from the Past, Fantastic Place, Somewhere Else, Marbles 3, weirdly, Ocean Cloud, Man of a Thousand Faces, 3 Minute Boy, Between You and Me, Neverland and Easter. It's a massive set list. But it's quite
a long set, that.
Yeah, but it's got, as from this album, it's got See It Like a Baby, Last Century, The Wound, Voice from the Past, and the title track. So a fair chunk on that one. And the sound quality is really good as well. The other release that is from this tour this year is the very last physical release, which was FRC 40, which is from the Paradiso in Amsterdam on the 12th of December. And it's the Nowhere Else set list, which is Bridge, Living with a Big Lie, Runaway Mad, Through with the Wild Rose, Fantastic Place, Real Tears. So they debuted Real Tears on the Nowhere Else tour. Somewhere Else is on next on the set list. Season's End, Hooks in You, Most Toys is on here. The other half, Cannibal Surf Babe, Ocean Cloud, Neverland, Invisible Man, and Let It Snow. And again, good sound quality. Worth getting the downloads of these two, definitely.
Or go on to eBay and spend a fortune.
Yes, or do that. Whichever floats your boat.
Or whichever's actually going to least bankrupt you.
Yeah. We did trail on our Facebook group that we were doing some homework over the Easter weekend, listening to Somewhere Else. And I have to say, we got the most interaction we've had on any post in the group so far, didn't we?
Yeah, there's a lot of comments on this, and it swings in a lot of directions.
Yeah, we'll just spin through a few of them. Richard Broadley, gosh, this will get a variety of comments. I like it a lot. The title track and Voice from the Past are in my top 20 Marillion songs. Andrew Barnsley Wood, I love it, although I have resequenced it, and then he puts a link to a Spotify playlist, which I'm just opening as we speak, and his sequence for this album is the other half, See It Like a Baby, Most Toys, Somewhere Else, A Voice from the Past, No Such Thing, The Wound, Thank You Whoever You Are, Real Tears for Sale, and Faith. So he's taken a track out and substituted Real Tears for Sale.
Controversial.
So slightly cheating, but Gareth Evans says it's in my top 5.
Hi, Gaz.
Hi, Gaz. John Nicholas, the next post, says it's my least favourite Marillion album, although there are some good moments on there, and the title track is a classic. I saw both London Forum shows, which were excellent. Many of the songs on that album come across much better live.
Yeah, he's right with that one, definitely. George Stevens says, okay for an H-era album, not the best, not the worst, which I think is what a lot of people think. It's a mid-table.
Yeah. Keith Wickenden, mixed for me. The album sounds so flat I didn't like it, but the tracks played live have so much more life. This needs a remaster/re-record more than any other album.
I think it does deserve a remaster. I've already said this on the pod. And it'd be interesting to see what a different... I mean, it wouldn't be as radical, I don't think, as the Radiation and Radiation 2013. But, yeah, it definitely deserves it.
Yeah. Rebecca Mason.
Back to the football.
Yeah, I like it. It's the Tottenham Hotspur of the Marillion catalogue. Looks good on paper, but never quite breaks in to the upper echelons. Still consistently has a top half finish, though.
And David Ibbott. Hi, Mr. Ibbott. I hope we're good. Very, very mixed for me. Couple of absolute stinkers, some okay stuff, and 2 genius songs. Rarely played in our house.
Yeah. Claude Attard, as in all albums, some are great tracks, some aren't. It also depends on my mood. Live is better. Stuart Chandler says, the one I go to least, but always slightly and pleasantly surprised when I do listen to it. Agree with Keith Wickenden above that it would greatly benefit from a remaster.
Simon Heldrich says it's okay, but suffers from coming directly after Marbles, which, you know, it was going to be always a tough one. By contrast, it's weak when the actual songs are pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Darren Newitt, hi Daz. My least favourite H-era album needs a Radiation-style remaster, as I find it sonically flat. And Cal Rag, I really like it. It's not the best thing they've ever done, but I like the simplicity. I mean that respectfully in the songs. They're proper songs, not just musical journeys, if that makes sense. They've done a lot of epic songs in recent years, to the point where it doesn't feel right describing them as songs, actually. They're more like big works of art. But Somewhere Else is full of songs in the more traditional sense, and that's why it gets a big thumbs up from me, 4 out of 5.
Yeah. And to finish, back to Andrew Barnsley Wood. Bloody Barnes. If Brave got a 3-parter, this needs a 5-parter to do it justice. No. 2's the maximum on this.
Listen out for parts 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah,
featuring Andrew Barnsley Wood playing his rendition of Somewhere Else on the kazoo. Anyway, on that bombshell.
I'm digied out.
Yes, I think we're somewhere else out. Thank you very much for listening to us talk about this wonderful album that we've rediscovered, some of us, and loved since it came out for others. But it's thank you very much and good night from James.
Night.
And Mike.
Good night.
Tim.
Good night.
Nathan.
Good night.
Craig.
Good night.
And myself, Mezza. Take care.
And stay alive.
Don't forget to go for the good stuff.
Hey.
Remaster.
Thanks for listening to Planet Marzipan Podcast. Please like and subscribe from whichever platform you get your podcasts from. You can contact us at planetmarzipanpodcast@gmail.com and check out marillion.com, fishmusic.scot or fishmusic.net